皆さんこんにちは。自分の世界を広げるオンラインスクールインスパイアハイ。インスパイアハイはやりたいこと、知りたいことを見つける場所です。第一線で活躍するさまざまなガイドが未知の世界をご案内します。前半はガイドの世界を知る時間。後半は皆さんが考える時間です。コメント欄ではガイドへの質問、感想も受け付けています。今回のテーマは台湾 IT 大臣オードリー・タンさんと考える社会はどう変えられる？コロナ対策で高く評価されている台湾。オードリーさんはマスクの在庫がわかるマップや予約購入システムを開発し、台湾の人々に安心をもたらしました。そんなオードリーさんはプログラマー出身。独学でプログラミングを学ぶ一方で中学校を中退。19歳の頃、シリコンバレーで起業。アップルなどの顧問を歴任した後、33歳でビジネスからの引退を宣言しました。開かれた政治を実現するため、最年少で入閣したオードリーさん。オードリーさんは社会を変えることについてどのように考えているのでしょうか。ガイドと一緒に考えましょう。
Hello, how's everyone? Good local time, everyone. Live long and prosper, everyone.
Live long and prosper. So, Audrey, where are you today?
I'm in the administration office. It is where I perform this kind of online interactions. It's my studio. My actual workplace is rather mostly in the social innovation lab, which is not a studio, but rather a park that everybody and their dog and their self-driving vehicles can visit me.
Whoa, that's really cool. So I just want to speak a little bit about the mask map which you created. Can you tell us a little bit about what the mask map was and is, and the process in which it came into being?
Sure. The mask map, which is a map that we use to ration, is created by the civil society people, such as the GovZero initiative and so on. And these are important because in the beginning of the pandemic, we have very limited production probabilities of people getting a mask on the free market is low, because at the time we only produce 2 million medical masks a day in a country of 23 million people. Of course, we will ramp up it to more than 20 million a day in the following months, I think by April or May. But in the first 3 months, there was a real shortage for the medical masks. Because of that, we devised a system where everybody can use their national health insurance card that covers more than 99.99% of all the citizens and residents too. And they can go to their nearby pharmacies, where the pharmacists are professional and trusted by the community, to get initially only 2 medical masks per week, and next 3 medical masks per week, and now 9 medical masks per 2 weeks, or if you are a child, then 10 per 2 weeks. This is important because the affordability and accessibility is more important than the number of masks you have. You can use, for example, a traditional rice cooker to clean the mask for reuse for a couple of days in the very beginning. But if only a small fraction of people have access to masks, then the virus will spread in the community. So people helped, instead of having to queue very long lines, you can see in real time where the pharmacies are. And if they are in green, it means they still have available stock. If they are in red, it means that it runs out of stock. You don't have to try arrow, and then it shows the number in real time so that when the people queuing before you make a purchase, you can see the number go down just a minute by refreshing this map. And this map is created, more than 100 of them, created by the citizens. We just make sure that they have the real-time number so everybody can hold this system to account.
Mm-hmm. Wow, thank you. So I want to pivot a little bit towards asking about your history, your personal history, and about your upbringing and your life. So I'm going to read this out for everybody. So at the age of 8, Audrey, you started learning coding. At the age of 14, you drop out from middle school. At the age of 19, you start a software company in Silicon Valley. At the age of 24, you come out about your gender identity and you change your name. And at 33, you announce the end of your business career and become an IT minister. Is this accurate? Is there anything that's wrong here? I just want to make sure that we're not sending false information out into the world.
Well, except that I'm not a IT minister. I'm a digital.
You're a digital minister.
IT, while being the enabling technology of digital, is actually different concepts. Digital is about the society, people-to-people relationship. IT is about the machine-to-machine relationships. Other than that, it is fine. I'm also happy that we fixed the feedback problem on our side. So this is good now.
Good. I'm glad. I'm sorry about that. All right. So my next question for you is, when you were 14 and you decided to drop out of middle school, can you tell us a little bit about that experience and the challenges you may have faced during that period of your life?
Yeah, I imagined that I will have to go to a senior high and then go to a college and maybe get a doctorate to work with the leading researchers, for example, on artificial intelligence. And nowadays we will call it natural language processing, which is a science fair project at a time. So I like a lot of the professors' work, but my teachers tell me I have to spend 10 years to complete my studies before I can work with these people that I admire. But then I discovered there is an online website called ARXIV, or Archive, run by the Cornell University. It's still, and so on the Archive with an X network, I see that all the leading researchers at the time were publishing their latest papers even before those papers go to their journals. And that means that it's literally their latest research. What's even more amazing is that when I send them email showing them what I have thought about their paper, they actually responded.
Wow.
Over the internet, they didn't know I was just 15 years old anyway. So I tell my principal that I don't have to wait for 10 years to participate in the creation of new knowledge. So right now, with this very new invention called the World Wide Web, and then she read the printout of email and web pages, thought for a minute, and say, oh, tomorrow you don't have to go to the middle school anymore, and I will cover for you, she said, which means that she will fake the records for me because they're compulsory education. We're long past the prosecution years period now, so I can't this.
Right. So you've embarked on so many different projects, starting with, before I'm sure you dropped out of middle school, but when you dropped out of middle school, you already had a research question which you wanted to pursue and understand. Can you tell us a little bit about what it is that moves you forward and what are the things that you are trying to realize or perhaps answer?
Yeah, I think there are two main questions that both motivates you and that I seek answer. The first one is, if people have very different positions and backgrounds, how may we arrive to common values? That's question one. And the second question is, given the common values that we have, can we innovate something without leaving anyone behind? That's the second question. So a lot of my work is motivated by those two questions, which does not have a standard answer. Rather, it needs to be practiced from day to day.
And how are these questions relevant to what you're doing today as the digital minister of Taiwan?
For example, whenever there is a new technology arriving, people will think of very different uses. Like for self-driving vehicles, you can easily think of 1,000 different uses. Some of them are for economic prosperity, but then people worry that it will also make a negative impact on the environment. They think it should be used for environmental protection. Some of them may drive the science forward, but then some people may worry that this will disrupt the social equality to make people who enjoy less opportunity enjoy even less opportunity if those self-driving vehicles or 5G are only available in the highly developed municipalities and places. So for each emerging technology, there's at least 4 different positions. If you talk about the sustainable goals globally, there's at least 16 different positions on any new technology. And so that's relevant because the 17th goal of the SDGs are the partnership for the common goals. And digital can help make the environmental, social, and business impact accountable to each other, translating different realms, business impact, environmental and social impact into measurements that people can relate and interact, such as, for example, any pollution on the air. It could be collectively measured by people. Any water quality can be collectively measured by people. The ocean, every part of the world, can basically be better understood, like the climate and so on, if we join together to find out what happens to these places in which metrics that we care about. But without digital technology, there is no way for us to share and remix from those different data sources. And so the digital is there so we can have a shared reality. That's for question 1. For the question 2 about a common innovation, digital can help to make this innovation replicate in anywhere in the world, traveling by the speed of light. The mask map that I show you, which was invented in early February this year, gets running in Korea by March. And I met with video many people in Korea that brought this innovation there in 1 short month. Some of them are just 14 or 15 years old. They are very young people. And they don't speak Mandarin. Fin Jianqiang, the person who wrote the map for Korean people, doesn't speak Korean, but they both speak JavaScript, and that's enough. And the innovation can spread very quickly.
ここからは皆さんが考える時間です。自分自身でアウトプットする時間と、皆さん同士でフィードバックする時間があります。この時間はガイドの視点、自分の視点、メンバーの視点で物事の捉え方を広げることが目的です。今回のアウトプットテーマは、変えたい社会の風景を見つける。まずはガイドの考え方に触れてみましょう。
You saw the change in law around transgender marriages in Taiwan. Can we use that as an example, perhaps, to think about this output, perhaps?
Sure, of course. In Taiwan, just by way of context, last year we made sure that regardless of people's biological sex, they can marry, but there's an important difference. In Taiwan, before 2007, when 2 people marry, it could be through a social ceremony where essentially their families marry. It's just they are representatives of their families. But after 2008, is married by registration only, which means the two individuals wed instead of their families wed. We made sure that in Taiwan, when people marry each other, they understand it's their own choice to make. They must be of age of consent instead of like in the old days, like young girls who are 16 years old, even if they are not legally an adult, they can get married because their family basically agreed for them to marry. And this is, of course, not what we are looking for in the new generation. We also propose a change this year to, even for heterosexual marriages, to keep like 18 years old, no 16-year-old marriage for girls anymore. And so this is a direction, a new landscape for thinking about marriage. It's individual, not family-to-family relationship only.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I'm going to now segue over into showing you all a video, which will help you understand how to exactly participate in the outputting.
ここからはアウトプットの時間です。この時間はガイドの視点をインスピレーションに自分なりに考えてみることが目的です。今回のアウトプットテーマは変えたい社会の風景を見つける。周りを眺めたときに違和感のある風景や変えていきたい社会のワンシーンを見つけ、どんな風に変えたいか考えてみましょう。回答項目は次の通りです。1、どんな風景ですか？ 2、どのように変えたいですか？ 3、どうしたら実現できると思いますか？アウトプット提出画面を下にスクロールすると、投稿例が掲載されているので、参考にしてみてください。時間は10分間。それではアウトプットスタートです。
And so I want to ask you, how is feedback important to you in your work? You're muted.
You just give me that advice and I will repeat, and I quote, unmute yourself.
I think that's beautiful. Unmute yourself. Do you believe that a lot of people are too muted?
Yes, and it's muted by other people because of the recording quality, right? When I sit here in the chair, your studio already muted me, as we previously talked about, but I was not aware of the fact that I was muted. And so the feedback that you give me raised my agency, realizing that, oh, I can unmute myself too. I don't have to wait for you to unmute me. It's the same for civic participation. Too many people think they have to be 18 years old, 20 years old, finish the college or whatever before being a participation force in the citizenry, so that we make a distinction between participating citizens and people who merely live here, like the very young people or foreign immigrants and so on. But I think this is a unuseful, not useful distinction to make. To me, everybody who can unmute themselves through citizens' initiatives, petitions, hashtags, Instagram challenges, these are all the very different ways that you can unmute yourself, even if you are not yet 18 years old.
ここからはフィードバックの時間です。この時間は相手に自分の視点を送ること、さまざまなメンバーの視点を得ることが目的です。フィードバックは贈り物、相手の成長を手助けするようにメッセージを送ることが大切です。自分のアウトプットへのフィードバックはセッション終了後に確認できます。時間は5分間。それではフィードバックスタートです。
a lot of people here today are asking the question of how can I also be somebody who impacts the world positively and makes positive change and changes the world. Do you have any words of advice?
Yes. So I would quote my favorite poet, Leonard Cohen, who said, and I quote, "Ring the bells that still can ring. Forget your perfect offering. There is a crack in everything. And that's how the light gets in." So make sure that the next time you see a crack in something, maybe a chance of shoplifting, instead of doing anything that's for your personal benefit, write it up. Take a photo, share it with a hashtag, and before long, this crack in the society will become a social object that people can gather and talk about and innovate upon common values. And so instead of just having one standardized answers, as the last century's education system teaches us, there will be many different possibilities that's offered by the whole spectrum of the society. So don't do it alone. Do it with the entire society. There's no perfect offering.
Thank you. Audrey, final question. Can we change the world?
Yes, and we are changing the world right now. The world is changing because of your participation in this conversation. If you understand the idea that worth spreading and spread it to at least 1.01 person on average, that idea will catch fire and become the new norm for the society.
Thank you so much, Audrey. This has been amazing, and I think everybody has been inspired today. I hope you have a brilliant rest of the day, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Live long and prosper.